Hey guys, this is barcode 9588 checking in again. This is not technically video 3, but I've been on a pretty long hiatus due to school and shit like that. So yeah, I told you guys at the beginning of the series that I would be answering people's questions if I got them asked enough, and this question has been asked quite a lot of times. I think it's a fairly decent question. I think it warranted some addressing. And for the record, I did not ditch the series. I'm also getting a lot of mail on my YouTube account from people thinking I've ditched it. I have not ditched it, okay? I may be an INTP, but I'm not that much of a jerk. Have some faith. Oh, ye of little faith. Even though I don't believe in faith myself, it doesn't mean you guys can't have any. Anyway, that's enough of the housework. So, yeah, the question I got... No, actually, I've got this question quite a lot from people, but this is the most recent one, so I'll read this. This is from Quaha. It's a J, and I'm not Spanish, so yeah. Quadra boy. He says, every time I take the quiz, I get something different. Is that normal? I've taken it 3 times, once in college, once a couple of nights ago, and again just now. I got 3 different scores. These are the scores on the test I took now. The introvert is the same on all 3, but the other letters are usually different. And he says his type is ISTJ. Well, Quadra boy, that's actually a really decent question, and you really start to get into sort of the the semantics and the philosophy and the psychology, what exactly personality is, right? And I'm sure you guys are aware that there's 2 leading theories on sort of what personality is and how it develops, right? There's the nature and the nurture debate. You can either go nature, which is saying that every person is born with some inborn traits that you cannot change no matter how hard you try to change them. And if you do, and if your personality does change, it's because society has, society wants you to be a certain way, so you try to pretend to be that certain way, even though deep down inside you really aren't that, right? And then there's something called the nurture debate, which is John Locke's, and you must have heard of this, John Locke's tabula rasa. He says that everybody is born with no inborn traits, and you just start out, and depending on your environment, your parents, the people around you, sort of environmental elements, you develop your personality, tabula rasa, or blank slate. Basically, the approach that the Myers-Briggs takes is something sort of like nature and nurture, which I myself am a great fan of. But it's basically saying that nobody is born with inborn traits, but you are born with what is called genetic predispositions, meaning that you're born, let's say that there's a great body of research and study devoted towards studying infants and the personality of infants. And there is also a great body of scientific support to suggest that infants do have sort of genetic predispositions towards different personality traits. The most sort of well-known of these is introversion and extroversion. They found that among infants, when some particular infants would cry more than others. Some infants would cry if they were held. Others would smile or seem very happy when they were held. And if people who try to argue nurture for that, these infants are like 2 months old. It's pretty hard to argue that it's because of nurture. So there must be something there. But again, the Myers-Briggs doesn't say that the babies are born introverted and therefore they will become introverted. That's not the case, right? I said a predisposition. I didn't say a predetermination. There's a huge difference there. So basically, what the Myers-Briggs says about personality is that it's conditioning, pretty much. Let's say that, for example, you're an infant, a little kid crying in his crib, whatever, that kind of shit. But you're born in your crib and you're introverted, okay? And let's say you go to preschool, and because you've got this predisposition, you shy away from the other kids. You go to first grade, and because you've had so much experience of shying away from other kids, you continue to shy away from other kids. And let's say that you keep doing that through the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to the 8th grade, And a lot of leading psychologists, personality psychologists, say that your personality is quite cemented, or a large portion of it is quite cemented by the time you're 15 or 16. So if you can imagine you're 8th and the 9th grade, and you've been shunned by other classmates because of your sort of original predisposition. That can lead to the cementing of the traits of introversion in adult life, right? And what that is called, as many of you may know, is called conditioning, right? So just because you're born with a predisposition, it doesn't mean you'll turn out that way. And again, this is quite prevalent in a lot of other mental phenomenon. One really springs to mind right away is depression, right? Clinical depression. People are finding that more and more there is evidence to support, I'm not saying prove, because science never really proves anything, it just provides support, that there is a sort of a or a series of genes that may lead to a predisposition towards clinical depression. Does that mean that person will become depressed when they get older? No, of course not, right? It's just that, there is, I guess, the one analogy that I can think of to compare it to is bias. There is a bias for you to turn that way, but it doesn't mean, just let's say you're in a contest, and just because one of the judges hates your guts, right, because you killed the guy's dog or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're going to win or you're going to lose, because it's just a bias. That person may not like you, but he may realize that you've done a good job, and that sort of thing. So again, the Myers-Briggs it's very much a case of conditioning. And when I was I replied to Quaboy's question. I said, when you say you've taken the Myers-Briggs, what do you mean by that? Because a lot of people who say they've taken the Myers-Briggs haven't actually taken the Myers-Briggs. I haven't taken the Myers-Briggs myself, because I had to pay $50 and I'm a cheap bastard. But when people say they've taken the Myers-Briggs, they've probably taken some online version. The online version that springs to mind is humanmetrics.com or .org or whatever. And that's the online version. And a huge problem with the online version is, well, first of all, the Myers-Briggs, the actual test or the exam or whatever, is hundreds of questions long. But the most distinguishing factor of the actual Myers-Briggs is that they're not true or false answers, such as the one you've probably taken online. They are a continuum. What I mean by a continuum, if you're not sure about that, is that, for example, they would say it's not okay. For example, the one on the one on humanmetrics.org, there's a question trying to determine whether you are a P or a J. They say, true or false, I am more interested in the idea than the details of its realization. Now, if you answer true, that means you're a perceiver. If you answer false, that means you're a judger. And again, that's really, that's very polarized, and that's not the way to go about it, because everybody has certain traits. Everybody, in extent, is all 16 types. It's just that your dominant preference lies with one type. And so the problem with true or false is that it can become really skewed, because, I've taken that socionics test before. I've gotten answers like INTJ, ISTJ. I've even gotten INFJ. And anybody who knows me in real life, I am the biggest non-feeler in the world. I'm kind of a cynical, realist bastard when it comes to that. But I've gotten this question a lot, and don't forget that a large majority of the YouTube community, we are young, and by young I mean maybe 15 to 24. And the thing about youth is that our realization of what we are keeps changing. Our identities keep changing, and there's nothing wrong with a Myers-Briggs that keeps changing, right? You should be a little concerned, if you're taking the test every 5 minutes and getting something different. And I'm not concerned for you because your identity keeps changing. I'm concerned that you're that obsessed to go and do shit like that and take the test every 5 minutes, okay? Get a life. But, pretty much I've been getting this question a lot, and I wouldn't say that necessarily I wouldn't say that necessarily just because you keep changing that your identity is changing. Because like I said, your personality is pretty cemented after about 13 or 14 or 15 around there. But one thing, there's a huge myth with the Myers-Briggs, and that's something I should explain now. It's called the myth of the borderline. People say, well, I answered this way because I'm really borderline P or J, right? Because when I took the online test, they gave me, I'm 49% P and 51% J. That means I'm really borderline. That means I have both P and J qualities. And that's true. Everybody has both P and J qualities. But basically what the Myers-Briggs measures is not how much you are, the percentage, how much you are of the certain traits. What it measures is how aware you are of those traits in yourself. So again, there's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of margin for error. But most importantly, just because your Myers-Briggs keeps changing, it doesn't mean you actually are changing. It's just that your self-awareness of yourself is increasing or decreasing depending on what you actually are. And that's a great source of confusion for a lot of people who are new to the Myers-Briggs. But I really suggest, people say, what's my type, what's my type? Go do some reading. That is the surefire, way to actually know what you are. Go do some reading, go read some papers, camp out in the life for 9 hours. Maybe not 9 hours, but you get the idea. So yeah, that's basically me addressing the question of why do I keep changing. A lot of the time it's just because the quiz that you're taking is a piece of crap. I've seen some online ones and some of them are pretty, but yeah. So like I said before, I am on a hiatus, but I will be coming back. I have not ditched you. I'm not that much of an asswipe. So yeah, keep watching. I think the third video I'm probably going to put up maybe in the first or second week of February. I'm not sure, but I got some like tests coming up, so I'll see how that goes. So yeah, thanks for watching, and peace out.